I'm pleased to have secured this debate on a very important topic for my constituents. When I describe the constituency of Broxbourne to those who are not familiar, I often say it is a collection of places without a dominant centre. Instead, many of the towns and villages that make up Broxbourne are connected by two main roads, the A10 and the High Street, or the old A1170, that spans from Waltham Cross in the south to Hoddesdon in the north. Demand on these roads, as the main arteries between the residential and urban areas, is therefore extremely high. And if there are works taking place on any location on our roads, the standstill traffic can affect almost the entirety of Broxbourne. This is a serious problem and, frustratingly, one that is not often discussed. According to IMREX, a transportation data analytics company, the average driver in the UK lost 61 hours due to traffic congestion last year alone. This is 4 hours up from the 2022 figure. These delays are costing UK drivers, on average, £558 each. Staggeringly, this means the cost of traffic delays to the country overall is an eye-watering £7.5 billion. Yes, £7.5 billion. People looking to enjoy their hard-earned cash are unable to spend as much time as they would wish at local shops. Small business owners and traders struggle to make appointments on time. The less time people have to earn or spend is harder for our country and our economy to grow. The Chancellor said today economic growth will be her mission for this Parliament, so I hope the Government will recognise the point I've just made. The economic cost is especially damaging in the constituency of Broxbourne, where more people use a car or van to get to work than the national average. Hundreds of my constituents have completed my survey to share their experiences of the roadworks and how they affect them locally. They have made it extremely clear how disruptive long waits in traffic caused by roadworks have been on their daily lives. I've heard about delays to reach elderly parents, carers finding it difficult to carry out their vital duties, and children missing out on the start of the school day. It's not just car journeys. For many of my constituents, the bus service is a lifeline. And when roadworks have gridlocked our local roads, buses are inevitably delayed. Pensioners in my constituency have told me they're simply giving up even trying to go out. The knock-on effect of missing serious medical appointments or social isolation are obvious. My constituents' anger and frustration is made even worse by the fact so often that when you drive past roadworks that are being carried out, no one is working on them. Yep. And no one can be working on them for days or even weeks. We're told that the problem is urgent. The barriers and traffic lights are in place as an emergency measure, but can it really be an emergency if no workers are on site for such long periods of time? My constituents feel there has to be a way for the vital work to be carried out quicker and in a more logical way. Local authorities and utility companies must communicate much better between themselves to coordinate works in a sensible and cost-effective way. It cannot be right that the same stretch of road is dug up time and time again, sometimes by different companies, but sometimes by the same company. These organisations have to improve how they communicate with the public. It should be easier to find out why disruption is taking place and exactly how long it will be there. We cannot let it be the case, as my constituents have experienced, that residents wake up to find a four-way traffic light diversion in place to make it even harder for them to leave their house, to get to school and go to work. We should use technology much better and come up with innovative ways to avoid static traffic where we can. And one example is when you turn up to a four-way traffic light, it's on the main road, but there's a side street with a few houses down. All of the lights will go green and red in sequence. We should be able to use technology for the light only to go green down the cul-de-sac when a car is waiting to go. That is a small change that we can make to make roadworks a lot easier for my constituents and constituents across the country to move about. I welcome that the last government set out plans for drivers and consulted on several policies to make it easier for everyone to use our roads, including helping local authorities establish lane rental schemes. These schemes allow the Highways Authority to charge up to £2,500 per day for works on the busiest roads at the busiest times, with charges only applying to works carried out by utilities and highways authorities. The cost incentives to those organisations to move their works and carry them out at less busy times or engage in joint working with others are obvious. Around 95% of charges are avoided by taking these steps, meaning disruption for drivers is minimised without additional costs being placed on them by the firms responsible. Just 4 schemes are currently in operation, covering less than 10% of the road network in London and counties in the south of England. If these schemes were expanded across the country, it would raise significant funds for local authorities. As the last government proposed, at least 50%, and I would say 100%, of the surplus funds should be directed to the repairs of potholes so drivers can benefit from smoother journeys. I urge the Minister to publish the findings of that consultation, which closed on the 11th of March 2024, and bring forward these measures.
Well, my honourable friend Leslie.
I will give way.
I thank him for giving way, and I congratulate him on securing this important debate. In the previous Parliament, I introduced a 10-minute rule bill about the regulation of roadworks, which I'm reintroducing again next week, and which I'm honoured to say he has agreed to be a sponsor for, as has the opposition's spokesman. Would he agree with me that one of the key bits in this is the handing out of the permits by highways authorities, which I'm trying to tighten up on? And if we could tighten up on that, we could help prevent a lot of the overruns that he so eloquently described to the House.
I thank the honourable member, the right honourable member, for his intervention. And I completely agree. There is a problem with the Highways Authority issuing permits, and there's also a problem when utility companies use emergency legislation where they don't even have to notify the Highways Authority of the works taking place. So residents can wake up, get in their car to go to work or go to school, literally drive to the end of their road and see, without any communication given to them, the road being dug up. So we need to take a two-pronged approach in that, and I'm really happy to be supporting his 10-minute rule bill to tighten up some of the regulation on this. We need to make sure that highways authorities are responsible when they're issuing their permits, and we also need to make sure that when utility companies use that emergency legislation, as I've said, if you're going to dig a road up under emergency, get someone working on the site as quickly as possible to get that emergency fixed. Don't dig up a road under an emergency, put traffic lights in place, and then allow mine and his constituents to sit in the traffic for hours and hours on end while there's no one working on that site. So I'm really pleased to be supporting my right honourable friend and his bill, which will include increasing the fixed penalty notices for utility companies whose roadworks overrun, which is also another important issue. And as I have said, the threat of financial penalties for the undertakers of these works can make a difference. So penalties for overrunning work should be increased and continue to do so in line with inflation, especially for those regular offenders. And I've said previously that sometimes when the same stretch of road is dug up, it is dug up by different utilities. So in my mind, them working together would save the utilities money, and it is absolutely extraordinary because there are examples there in my constituency of where the same utility company digs up the same stretch of road virtually at the same point a couple of weeks after they finish the previous bit. So they really need to forward plan and and look at how they're going to do that moving forward. And these changes, along with lots of others, would bring the cost down for the consumer in terms of being able to spend our money where we want to in the economy, get to work on time and get to school on time. And I hope that the government will listen and take the side of my constituents and so many ordinary working people across the country.